Welcome back. We have our guest here, Dr. Spiro Marangoudakis.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. So we are obviously we're theming this very sciencey this episode.
In your honor.
Perfect.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I'm a molecular biologist. I graduated from the molecular cell bio and biochemistry department with a PhD from Brown University in 2011. Wow. Before that, I studied molecular markers of cancer at Millennium Pharmaceuticals, which was in Cambridge, Mass. And I also worked at a small biotech company, also in Cambridge, studying cell biology.
Wow.
Now, what was your interest in gearing your efforts in that direction?
Yeah, what made you get involved?
I guess I've always just been interested in science. I've always been a scientist. I always knew I would be involved in research since I was a child.
Oh, that's very cool. So I mean, you're a perfect person to have on this show, obviously, because we talk a lot about melanoma and cancer and all that.
And now we can get our true facts, because, you know, as we mentioned earlier, it's like we
not
do a lot.
Yes,
not
doctors.
Yes.
I'm also not a dermatologist, but I do have expertise
You'll have more information and more
cell biology
specifics.
and cancer.
Right, than we would.
So yeah, speaking of that, can you explain kind of the science behind melanoma?
Sure.
What the cells are doing and all that?
Cancer in general is basically an abrogated, corrupted
you can
cell.
say that all right. Definitely corrupted.
The DNA program that runs the cell has been corrupted.
Okay.
And if the corruption is in a gene that normally inhibits cancer, and that gene is knocked out, it can lead to replication of the cell. And when a cell has gone wayward and is replicating, normal cells don't replicate except for certain cells in the body.
Okay.
And when these cancer cells undergo wayward replication, and can't be controlled by the body, that can be a problem for the body.
Now, wouldn't the immune system take a play in that? Like, if you have a strong immune system, I mean, again, there's healthy people who get melanoma, but does the immune system help sort of repress, you know, the melanoma from growing in those cells, you know, reproducing and things like that? Because from our research and everything that we've always known, that melanoma is the most aggressive cancer, you know. So is there a reason for that? Like, you know, one, the immune system, would that be helpful if somebody has a strong immune system? We've done things about healthy eating and exercise and stuff like that. Would that help? And then, you know, the second part of the question is, like, is it the most aggressive cancer, and why? Why would you think?
Yeah, it has been noted as being very aggressive, and also the aggressiveness of cancer stems from its ability to metastasize, invade other tissues, and also evade the immune system. Okay. And so I think we'll be talking about the PD-1 receptor in a bit. And so the PD-1 receptor is actually a T cell receptor that T cells have, and keeps the T cell from, when it's activated, keeps the T cell from destroying the pathogens that it attaches to, whether it be a foreign invader or a diseased or cancerous cell.
Right. And
normal cells, they express the PD-1 ligand that inactivates the T cell and keeps it from destroying it. But some cancers, they co-opt this natural pathway. And when they express the PD-1 ligand, it keeps the T cell from being able to destroy the cancerous cell. So it kind of co-opts the natural pathways that protect cells from T cells and other white blood cells.
Now, since you brought it up, I know the FDA just granted the accelerated approval for PD-1 for patients who aren't responding to other treatments for melanoma. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So several drug companies are actually targeting PD-1, and some, Merck and I think Bristol Myers Squibb, they're targeting the PD-1 receptor with monoclonal antibodies. Anything that has
These are very big words.
a MAB at the
he's
end.
just blowing them out.
Anything that has
I'm glad I didn't have to say that.
So there are a lot of drugs out there that have MAB at the end.
Okay.
And MAB at the end means monoclonal antibodies. So monoclonal antibodies
Well,
are
that's why
antibodies
he has PhD at the end left.
that specifically targets specific protein sequences. And both Merck and other drug companies are targeting PD-1 that keeps PD-1 from becoming active and pacifying the T cell. So it keeps T cells in a more active state, or allows them to be more active when they bind cancer, and thus destroy it.
And is that a cure? Like, could that lead to?
It can lead to long-term remission, and these drugs are fairly new, but it can potentially lead to to curing cancer.
And you just said the word remission, so that was another question we had. You know, I've always heard that melanoma is curable when it's caught early enough, but other cancers you can't use the word cure. You have to say remission. What's the difference between those two distinctions?
I think the main difference is that, well, doctors in general, they like to use the word remission because nothing's certain, especially
people who've had melanoma
always come
and
back
10 years later
Yeah.
they've gotten it back. So I think anything is
safer
yeah,
side.
to be safe.
especially when it's metastatic, when it's invaded other parts of the body. It's very hard to say that it's been completely eliminated. But with melanoma, because it's on the skin, you can see it.
Right.
You can.
It's the only cancer you can see right on the outside of the body.
And it can be more easily targeted and removed.
Right.
Excision, biopsy, and because of that, if it's excised early enough, and there's nothing left, there's no cancerous tissue left, you can fairly certainly say after a period of time, more certainly than with other cancers, that it's been cured.
Right. So that's why it's so important for the early detection and to get checked, because it's
the earlier the better.
something you
Before it
right.
invades the lower levels of the epidermis.
Right.
And
Which was
before
what
it gets
mine
the blood
was.
supply, before it starts metastasizing.
Right.
Mine
if you
hadn't
can get
gone to
it
the
early,
lymph nodes. It had just, but it had gone deeper into the skin.
Well,
so
that's the thing. I mean, I always explain it, and hopefully I've been explaining it correctly, that there's 4 stages of melanoma.
Right.
To other cancers, there's other different types of stages,
Right.
correct?
Right.
So I would always felt like stage 1 of melanoma, it's on the surface of your skin. Stage 2, it sort of starts growing legs. Stage 3, it starts moving to the lymph nodes, and stage 4, it gets to the major organs, the heart,
yeah.
the lung, the brain,
Yep.
that type of thing. So obviously, you know, with other types of cancers, it's always been you felt a lump, or you know, prostate cancer, you felt certain things. And again, just so that we're clear, and you know, I've been saying the right stuff, that with melanoma, it doesn't itch, burn, bleed, or any kind of signs.
Well, it does if it's on the outside of the skin.
Right, it changes.
Right,
But
it
I'm saying
starts
as
changing.
far as symptoms of it being painful. Because normally, for most men, not so much for women, because it is the biggest killer in men, is that if it's changing, oh, they're not paying attention to that.
Right.
They're not paying attention that, oh, that didn't look like that, you know, 2 weeks ago. That, you know, so unless you actually see it and notice it and realize it changed, women are always looking on our skin like, oh, what is that?
Right.
You know, so in that aspect, it won't itch, burn, or bleed, or have any real type of symptoms other than visual until stage 4, pretty much, correct?
Right. And with other cancers, they can be at very early stages, they can be at very late stages within the body, and you don't know until
Right.
it either metastasizes or it starts invading, it starts getting so large that it causes serious problems. But with melanoma, you can see it when it's a millimeter.
I always
Right.
feel like,
diameter or
you know, you're your
smaller.
best advocate, because if
Right.
you know
Right.
what's on your body and you see it change, you could basically, and I use the word cure yourself. Save yourself,
Right.
because
Right.
of that,
If you
if
get
you
it early,
see
absolutely.
any type of change, seeing
that's
it,
key. Before
taking it
before
off.
it gets to the bloodstream and before it metastasizes.
Right.
Okay.
And before it invades the lower layers of the epidermis.
Right.
That's key.
And now, real quick, we've been seeing all of these commercials about the link between
waiting
Viagra
for
and
this question.
melanoma. What is that about?
Yeah, I saw that article that was published in
Yeah.
the Journal of the American Medical Association. So basically, it looks like if you've ever, so this is what the paper says, and the conclusion is we need to do more research on this. But one of the clear conclusions was that melanoma, above all others, so they looked back at, they did a cohort analysis and looked to see if there was any link between Viagra and melanoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and basal cell carcinoma. And they found that there was no link between Viagra and basal cell and squamous cell, but there was with melanoma. And so if you've ever taken Viagra, you've got you're 2 times more likely
Really?
to,
It's like a tanning
to
bed,
get
except
melanoma.
that's in more increased.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So that's actually, and it's
See, interesting
it
facts.
says
Listen
ever,
to this,
so that's very
guys.
interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
This has been
See,
really,
I know.
really
We've
enlightening.
learned so much on
yeah.
this show.
In the
I love
last
this show
5-10
because
minutes.
you really learn a lot if you watch.
This has
and
been
have
great.
fun.
Yeah, thank you. We have a little gift for you. Thank you so much for
thank
coming
you.
on the
It's
show.
been
So informative
Oh,
and
thanks.
totally, you know,
This is great.
brewing
Appreciate
out
it.
all
Thank you.
those long
Words that we're going to have
type
to
of
rewatch
words.
that a couple times to know what's
few
going
times.
on.
But
for
that's
having
why you are, and you do what you do, and it's been awesome, and you really brought so much to us and enlightened so much of our viewers. So
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing, because we need people like you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And stay tuned because we do have Leanne's segment coming up next.